Hello, and welcome to Sweet Dreams Wellness. I am Barbara Tuckett, the owner of Sweet Dreams Travel and a wellness travel specialist. I believe that our mind, body, and spirit all play into our well-being. They are all connected, and I create travel experiences which improve our wellness so that you can return from your vacation with more health, more happiness, and connection. This is being broadcast as a YouTube video and a podcast. This is episode number 5, entitled Eat, Drink, and Travel Mexican Style. Today's aspect of wellness, as you can tell, is definitely food and the connection that we have to wellness through eating healthy and being able to enjoy food in a healthy manner. So I am going to get started. A couple of years ago, my youngest daughter and I found ourselves at the end of the summer with a little bit of time on our hands, a few days, when we had nothing planned. That was kind of unusual because normally we have plenty of things planned. If your life is like ours, you have quite a bit going on most of the time. But we had a few days where nothing was planned. My husband was going on a trip to Alaska, and the two of us were just at home. So, never one to just sit around and not take advantage of an opportunity. I booked a trip for us, and we went to Las Vegas for a few days. And while we were in Vegas, we experienced the MGM Wellness Suite. Now, if you did not know that there is such a thing as a wellness suite at the MGM Grand, you have got to try it. I did write an article, a blog about this after we experienced it, and I will link to that in the show notes so that you can read about that if you would like. Anyway, staying in that wellness suite was a highlight of our Vegas experience that time. Another highlight was a walking food tour that I booked for us. Now, this walking food tour was really fun. We got to experience lots of different things, plates of food, appetizers with a smoothie, a donut of our choice, many different flavored jerkies. It was really, really fun. We had a tour guide that took us around, and in addition to him, we also had another couple that were also on the tour with us, and we just had a lot of fun walking around and getting to experience this location. It was great because along with the sampling of foods, all different varieties of foods, we also were able to hear a little bit about the history and get connected with that area of town and history that we had previously known nothing about. So it was really, really just entertaining and very fun. So the one drawback that came with that little food tour was that my daughter, just a couple days before our trip, had come down with a bad head cold. So she was suffering from not being able to smell or taste anything at that time. So she went on the food tour with us and still had a good time and was a good sport and enjoyed herself. But she really had no taste of smell or taste at the moment when she did. I still think, even though she wasn't able to taste, that she had fun because food is such a connecting type of experience. I love, and you might be like me, but I love when I go any place to find a local restaurant, one that's not a national chain, but that the locals love, and that just gives a little bit of a taste of what they eat and how they are, no matter whether it's somewhere in the US, a town that I haven't been to before, or whether it's outside the US. So it's really fun to connect with a place through their food. And 95% of Americans have said that they want a unique food experience when they travel. That is part of the joy of traveling, I think, is being able to enjoy food, the food that they have there. So today I am going to spotlight a Mexico real food adventure. That's the name of the adventure that I'm going to spotlight today. And it includes 8 nights in Mexico, a couple in Mexico City, and then on to Puebla, down to Oaxaca, and at the end, a couple of nights in Huatulco. We'll talk about each of these places and what you can do and see and taste along the way. Now, a couple of things before I get started. Mexico is open to U.S. visitors. In fact, the borders have never really been closed. There have been some tighter restrictions, but they've never really been closed per se. And anyway, Mexico is perfectly safe. I have clients that are currently traveling there and that are planning travel there, and it's not an unsafe place to go. They are very aware of the health protocols and all kinds of things that you can do there. So I would not feel worried or nervous about traveling to Mexico at this time, because I feel like they are doing a great job of protecting against the virus at the time of recording, and then also moving forward and planning for the future. So on this tour, as part of the tour, there are some, obviously, if you have some dietary restrictions, you may be a little worried about whether you could even do this tour. There are some accommodations that they can offer for dietary restrictions. So don't worry about that. They will take care of you. You may not be able to eat every single thing that they offer, but they are aware that in this day and age, there are many dietary restrictions and that modifications need to be made. So to start off with, day 1 is Mexico City. That is the day, mostly a traveling day, but that's the day where you get to meet your group. This group size is from 1 to 12 people. So this group can be a group, quote unquote, with just one person. If you decided to go solo, you could do it and you would have an amazing time on this tour, as well as if you're with, a couple of other people. The largest group that it would be 12. So they are very aware of social distancing and really keeping to safety protocols. On this first day of the trip, this evening, your dinner would be what's called a taco crawl around the city, where you get to tour different taco stands and eateries and restaurants and try a whole bunch of different tacos. So doesn't that sound like an amazing start to this trip? Day 2 in Mexico City, you wake up and your first visit gets to be to a churreria, where you can have a warm, fresh churro for breakfast. Following that, you will go to a 2-story bakery where you will get to sample local breads and pastries and all kinds of yumminess. A walking tour of the Centro Histórico is scheduled after that, followed by, or as part of this walking tour, visit the Mercado San Juan, which is the city's main food market. So you can get a really good sense of their market and their food that's here. You can watch local vendors, try fresh tortillas with salt, and for lunch, you get to visit a local food stand and eat there. The rest of the day is your own to just be at your own leisure. Day 3, you head to Puebla. And Puebla is known as Mexico's culinary capital. Here in Puebla, you of course get to go on a culinary city tour. A couple of the highlights is you can try stuffed chilies covered in creamy walnut sauce, some Pueblan street food, shortbread biscuits, and sweet potato lollies, among other things. Following the Culinary City tour, your evening entertainment, if you have ever seen the movie Nacho Libre, you will be familiar with Mexican wrestling and what an entertainment and sport that this is in their country. So the evening entertainment is you get to watch, be a spectator for some lucha libre wrestling. This is a combination of sport and theater and very entertaining. Day 4, You get to spend the morning in Puebla, and then the afternoon you will be in Oaxaca. And Oaxaca is your next city. It's a colonial city. It's nicknamed the land of the seven moles. So if you know what mole is, it is an amazing Mexican sauce. And so if there are 7 different ones, you certainly get to try them all when you're in Oaxaca, if you would like to. In Oaxaca, they have a Mercado Benito Juarez. So this is a market that covers a full city block. It is incredible. Not only does it have produce, but it also has lots of mole spices and pastes, towers of cheese. Oaxaca is known for their cheese varieties, and so there are towers of cheese and all kinds of amazing foods, including original Mexican foods such as grasshoppers. If you are feeling brave, you can try some. The Mexicans know these as chapulines. So you may try a grasshopper if you would like to. Day 5, you are still remaining in Oaxaca. And to start off with, you have a traditional breakfast of chocolate, tamales, pan y vemas. And then your afternoon is just all on your own. If you choose, you can either explore more food locations in the afternoon, or you can visit an archaeological site, which is right close by. So if you choose to do the food option, you may want to try carne asada. You may want to explore some Oaxacan chocolate factories. There's all kinds of great ideas for you if you want to do a food location. But if you want to do the archaeological site, there is a nearby place called Monte Alban, and it has terraces, dams, canals, pyramids, and artificial mounds that are all from the original natives who lived in this area. So those are a couple of great options for this day. Now, day 6, you are still in Oaxaca, and you really get some great culture on this day. You will visit the nearby area, which it's called Mercado Tiacolula, and it is one of the oldest markets in Mesoamerica. And this market doesn't only have the traditional vegetables and food items, but they also, the nearby native culture of Zapotec, the Zapotec natives are there in the area, and you get to see their traditional dress, their traditional food and cuisine, their language. You get to see their rug weaving, and it's really, really fun. There will be a barbacoa meal, and you can also visit the ancient ruins of Mitla, which is the main religious center for the Zapotec people. So this is a great cultural day where you get to experience a lot of the local flavor, and not only flavor in eating, but also in your surroundings. Day 7 is the day that you head from Oaxaca down to Huatulco. Now, this is a pretty long bus ride this day. Very scenic though, and on the way you get to stop in a village for lunch. Huatulco, this town is quiet, it's less touristy, and it's located on a beautiful stretch of the Pacific Ocean, a beautiful Pacific beach. So this is a nice, quiet, wonderful little getaway town. On day 8, you will attend and participate in a traditional cooking class. And following that, you get to feast on the creations that you made. After that, in the afternoon, there's a boating expedition planned where you can look for sea turtles, stingrays, dolphins. Sometimes it depends on the time of year as to what you can see. But that's a really fun excursion to get to see the local sea life and enjoy your day at leisure for the rest of the day. Day 9, this is your final day on the planned trip. From here, you can either stay a few extra nights and extend your vacation if you would like to. Huatulco is a great place to end up. Or you could, from here, you could fly back to Mexico City to catch your flight home. So either way, it's really up to how long you have and would want to stay. As far as trip dates and when this vacation would be available, There are departures about once a month year-round. So this is a great year-round trip. The weather is beautiful year-round and very nice and warm and sunny, and so it's a trip that you can take any time of year. If you are wondering about safety types of questions or issues, I thought I would touch on that a little bit. Before you go on the trip, there's a self-screening health form that is completed prior, so to make sure that everyone is healthy. During the trip, mask wearing and hand sanitizing is definitely encouraged and provided throughout the trip. Also, if something were to happen and your trip had to be interrupted due to COVID or an unforeseen circumstance like that, the unused portion of your trip would be credited back to you so that you wouldn't miss out on anything that way. Travel insurance is always available for every vacation that I sell, and I highly recommend getting travel insurance. Also, just in case you decided not to get travel insurance, but your plans changed, as long as you knew about that and were able to let me know at least 21 days in advance, you could get your entire trip amount credited toward a new trip or the same trip, just a different date. So it's very flexible and really, really great options if, unforeseen circumstances happened. So now I wanted to give you a recipe and some instructions for some handmade Mexican corn tortillas. I thought this would be a fun little addition to our Mexican food tour. So for these tortillas, I will link this recipe. I will give the whole recipe in the show notes. But I just wanted to mention and talk through it a little bit. All you need for this recipe is hot water, a couple tablespoons of either melted butter or vegetable oil, canola oil, avocado oil, the oil of your choice. I feel like olive oil is a little bit strong flavored, so I may not use olive oil necessarily, but any other type of oil or melted butter would be great. You just need a half a teaspoon of sea salt, or regular table salt works fine too. And then the only other thing that you would want to probably buy for this recipe is something called masa harina. I don't really know how to pronounce it. Basically, it is like a corn flour. So I want to stop sharing for just a moment and show you what my bag looks like. This is what mine looks like, so that you can see that. And it's kind of like cornmeal, but it's more like a corn flour. So what you do is you put your masa and your salt in a bowl and you mix them together, and then you add the melted butter or oil. You either mix it with your fingers or whisk it with a whisk. You slowly add the water while you're still mixing. You can either keep mixing with your hands or you can mix with a wooden spoon. Once it comes together in a ball, then you sprinkle a little bit more masa down on your countertop or whatever surface you're working on, and you kind of knead it until it's all smooth and make it nice and smooth for about a minute. You divide your dough into 12 little sections, and you roll them into a ball, put them, cover them with plastic, and let it rest for about 30 minutes. And once the dough has rested, then you can turn on a cast iron skillet or a frying pan. Cast iron skillet is preferred, but if you don't have one, a frying pan works just as well. Put it on medium-high heat to get it all preheated, and then turn it down a little bit to medium. If your dough is a little bit dry, you can always put some water on your hands, and then as you pick up each dough ball, it will transfer. The way that you press it is you put it between two sheets of plastic, and then a tortilla press is the best option for making your tortillas because they turn out just so lovely and nice. But if you do not have a tortilla press, you can use a rolling pin, and you just press down firmly, turn the tortilla 90 degrees and press it again. And you keep rolling or pressing until the tortilla is just this very lovely little, about 1/8 of an inch thick. If it cracks, if it breaks, it doesn't matter. It still tastes great, so you don't have to worry about that. Or if you'd like to, you can add just a little bit more water and pinch the edges together. So peel away the plastic really carefully because it's going to be thin and you don't want to make it break more. And then you put it onto your heat, into your skillet. You cook it until there's brown spots on one side, and then you flip it with a spatula and cook it on the other side. Once it is cooked, if you're going to eat them right away, you can just put it on a baking sheet and cover it up with a damp towel so that the moisture and the heat will stay in it. And while you're waiting to serve them, if you'd like to just keep the tortillas warm, you can just wrap them in foil and put them in 350 degree oven to keep them warm while you're waiting to eat them, or just keep them covered with the towel if you're going to eat right away. Reuse those same 2 pieces of plastic for your next one. And the plastic kind of gets better as you use it more, easier to use, gets more pliable, and it's great to reuse it. So reuse that as many times as you can before getting new plastic. As far as storing tortillas, let's say you only eat 1 or 2 of them and you have some extras, you can wrap them in plastic or put them in a Ziploc bag, put them in the fridge, and they can last for a couple of days in the fridge. So enjoy if you decide to make these corn tortillas. Now, at the beginning of my presentation, I said that today's wellness focus was going to be food, of course, healthy farm-to-table fresh food, and it has been. But what does our Vegas trip that I talked about earlier on have to do with this delightful Mexican culinary vacation that I've been telling you about? Why are those 2 things even mentioned in the same episode? Well, I think they actually have a lot to do with each other. Food is such a connector, I think. Making food with other people, eating with other people, eating food from other cultures. It is such a connecting type of experience when we sit down to enjoy some food together, or creation of food, and no matter what country or culture we are in. Now, back to our Vegas experience. For me, the highlight of that food tour was the food, eating the aromas, the tastes, and experiencing all of that food. However, when my daughter and I talk about this experience, one of the highlights of this trip for her was also this food tour. And the reason that it was still a highlight for her, even though she couldn't taste anything, was the opportunity for connection. Just as much as I did, she connected with the other couple that we were with, our tour guide. She loved hearing about the history and the background of all the places where we were, and connecting with that little part of Las Vegas where we were walking around and getting to experience all of that local flavor. So for me, the food was a highlight. For her, since the food couldn't really be a highlight, the connecting was more of a highlight. And I really feel like food plus connection plus travel all contribute to our well-being and our sense of wellness that we have. So I would love to help you connect through travel experiences, whether you are interested in a food tour like this Mexican one that I've just highlighted today, or going somewhere else. And anywhere else you go, I can usually help add in a food tour for you, or culinary experiences to help you connect through those great travel experiences that you have. So I would love to help you. Please feel free to connect with me, and If you have any questions about this or any other trip that you're thinking about, let me know because I would love to help you. Feel free to connect with me on Facebook or Instagram at Sweet Dreams Travel. Twitter is Sweet Dreams Trav. And if you are listening to the podcast and would like to see the visuals that go along with it, you can find my YouTube video is at Barbara Tuckett. That's my channel. Or if you are watching and you would like to listen, then go find my podcast, which is Sweet Dreams Wellness. Again, thank you so much for participating today and for joining me. And I will talk to you next time.